Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to be sharing a new way perhaps to set up some gratitude pages in your journal. If you follow my bullet journal flip throughs and have seen those videos, you'll know that with my gratitude pages I do one a month in my bullet journal where I write down at least a line a day of something that I'm grateful for. And one of the things I get asked about quite a lot in the comments and messages is, does it matter if you're writing down the same kind of things over and over again? How do I kind of come up with more things to be grateful for? So I wanted to share a kind of lower pressure way, if you like, of getting into the habit of setting up those gratitude pages. So in my new book, which if you've got will be great, but otherwise I'm going to go through each of the steps anyway. I have a section in here called Be Grateful, which is on page 8. And I'm going to set up a really easy page today using this as inspiration. And all I did for this was use some really simple pieces of scrapbooking paper or patterned paper so that I created some writing spots in my journal. So you'd want to look for something quite plain that you know you're going to be able to write over the back of and still be able to see your text. But another option, if you don't have any patterned paper, you could use things like craft paper, envelopes, or with these ones I used some watercolour to create writing spots. So you could use watercolours, light coloured brush pens or pencils, anything like that. So you've got less you haven't got a whole blank page to look at, which can feel quite intimidating. So we're just going to be looking at some kind of the things that we're most grateful for. And also in this book, I've got some writing prompts to try and help you think about perhaps what you're grateful for in a new way. So things like, who are you most grateful for in your life right now? What lessons are you grateful to have learned through difficult times? Which household items make your life easier? Which TV programs or films do you most enjoy watching? Which comedians always make you laugh? Think about a goal or dream you've set for yourself. Write down what makes you grateful to have this particular goal to work towards. So thinking about favourite sounds, favourite smells, favourite foods, and really trying to get ourselves into a positive mindset. So that's what I'm going to be working on in this video. And I'm going to be using an A5 dotted journal from London Gifties, but absolutely any kind of notebook is going to be fine for this. And the cover that I use is a paisley etched cover from Start Bay Notebooks. So this journal has got really thick paper in it, almost like card, but it really doesn't need to be for what we're going to be doing today. So I've picked 3 different kind of quite neutral-ish colours. I'm going to tear them out and glue them onto my page, so it's going to be as easy as that. And I think as long as I'm using black ink, I should be able to read it okay on this. This is the only one I'm a little bit more worried about, so I'm perhaps just going to need to think about how I use that. Or I noticed I think the back is a lot more neutral, but perhaps not as pretty, but that might be the one that I go for. So yeah, if you've got some scraps of paper, just start tearing them up and then we're going to glue them down onto our page. And you can cut them if you prefer, but I always really like the look of rough edges. I think it gives a really lovely effect, but I know that's not everybody's thing, so if it's not, definitely just cut them up, go with whatever feels right for you. I think I'm going to have a thin strip to go along here, because that can be where I'm going to write my title for these pages. And these pieces of paper were from Flow magazine. So that's probably a bit wider than I need it. But I think it's one of those things with gratitude journals, when you first start doing them, it can feel a little bit false, particularly if you've had a bad day. Sometimes actually the last thing you really want to do is be writing about the things that you're grateful for, because you might not actually feel that grateful. at the time you're writing them. But I think it's on those days where it's particularly important actually to try and get your mind back into a more positive headspace so that you can still recognise the good things that you do have going on. So I'm just going to glue some of these down as I go, and for this I'm using Pritt Stick. Okay, so I've now got all of my pieces glued down, and if you've used paper the same as I have, I would say hang on to all of these little scraps, partly for if you want to set up pages like this again, but if you're doing collage or anything like that, or mixed media pages, all of these little scraps can be so helpful. I especially like using some of the thinner strands and popping them underneath other papers just for a little bit of decoration. So I always try and have a spare tub or bag with all of my little scraps in, and I then love using them on other projects. So it doesn't take long at all to do something like this. And the next thing I want to do is I want to make these look like they belong on the page a little bit more. So I'm going to go and add some kind of stitch marks around each of the pieces of paper so that it starts on the paper itself and goes off onto the page. And if you've watched my latest mini journal zine video, I did exactly the same for the cover of that. And I think it just helps it feel, rather than just pieces of paper that are stuck down kind of randomly on your page, it really helps it all kind of feel like it's meant to be there. And one of the things I love about these kinds of pages is with the different size writing spots, it's going to encourage you to fill out the space a little bit more in terms of some of the bigger pieces, perhaps really write and think about why you're particularly grateful for something. Or if there's just something small that you're grateful for, maybe like chocolate or something, you could just jot that down in one of the smaller spaces. And you could do something like this just once a month to help get you kind of focused on bringing gratitude into your life every day. Or you could sit and do all of this in one sitting, so you've got it there to look back on, or take your time and fill it out over a couple of days. I like making sure that I spend time every evening writing down at least one or two things that I'm grateful for, because it actually helps to remind me, particularly on a bad day, of all the good things that are still going on. And I think that's been so hard at times over the last year or so. But even just if I'm feeling a bit stumped, having my old gratitude pages to go back and look through actually often reminds me of the things that perhaps in that moment I'd stopped paying attention to. So at the moment, even on a grumpy day, I can still hear the birds singing outside in the garden, which is one of my favourite sounds. I still love the smell of coffee, the taste of chocolate. And there's some amazing comedians I find on YouTube, and I love being able to just put those on, and it always brings a smile to my face. So I like to perhaps go back and read my old gratitude pages. And that helps remind me of some of the things perhaps that I've forgotten about as well. So to go back and look up another comedian or listen to a song that had been putting me in a really good mood. So I definitely think it's worth persevering with. Another thing you could do is actually just set up a whole journal devoted to gratitude. So you could do something like this on every page, or change up how you want to do it, perhaps with some watercolour writing spots instead of scrapbook paper. and just really play around with it so that you can, write a few things in there every day, and then by the time you finish that journal, it'd be a whole journal just full of things that you're grateful for. And I think that would be really cool to have. And I don't think it matters if you repeat things a few times in your gratitude pages. If it reminds you how grateful you are for them, it helps to make you feel happier, then I think it's done exactly what it was there and designed to do. So I wouldn't worry about if it's repetitive, but I also think it's good to try and stretch yourself a bit. So if you do have my book, definitely have a look through the prompts, because there might be some areas of your life that you've kind of overlooked a little bit because you're just used to those things being there, and it can remind you to feel grateful for those as well. So I'm just going to carry on adding these stitches all the way around, and then I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, so that's those pages all set up now, and this could work really well for a variety of different things. Whilst we've put kind of layout ideas in different categories in the book, you could use this for something like your best moments from the month. You could use this as a kind of to-do list, things you want to get done, your goals list. So you could put little photos on here, things about family members. You could write down books that you've been reading. So this layout could work really well for lots of kinds of different journal page ideas, and you don't need many supplies, and really quick and easy to do. And I just love how simple that looks. I had thought about maybe doing some other stamping around the outside, but actually I'm going to leave it just as it is. So at the top I'm going to write in here grateful, or I'm grateful for, so that I know then that that's the title for these pages. And for this I'm using a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib. If you have my new book, by the way, and there's any particular layouts that you'd like to see a tutorial on, then please do just let me know in the comment section. I've written down a list of ones that I think would make good tutorials on video, or perhaps a bit more complicated and you might want to see how they were created. I've had requests for, I think, a few of the kind of mixed media and art journaling pages towards the end, so I'll definitely film some of those, have some messy sessions where we can kind of play with different things, but please do just let me know. So I'm not going to fill all of these out during the video, but I am going to have a look at a couple of the different prompts and just kind of think about what I might want to write down in each of these. So, what lessons are you grateful to have learned through difficult times? I think that's quite a good one to focus on, because when you're going through difficult times, it's hard to see it as anything other than just being difficult. But actually, there's quite a lot probably that I've learned over the last year in particular, that they're skills that probably will do me well in the future. So I'm just going to have a think about some of these prompts, write some responses down, and then come back and just go through them with you. So I've just filled in a few of these writing spots. So on here, and I'm going to read these in the hope that it might just give you some ideas as well. So I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to really consider what is important to me and which people are making the biggest difference to my life. Quite eye-opening. So that's definitely something I thought a lot about over the last year. Chocolate, because always. I'm grateful for I have the freedom to make so many choices, such as what I wear, how I spend my time, who I live with, where I live, what I eat for dinner, and which books I read. And it's one of the things for me having gratitude pages is that it helps me not take things for granted that would be really easy to overlook. And the freedom of choice is definitely something that I think about quite a lot. So in the last one, I'm grateful for my body. It enables me to walk outside in nature, see the beautiful birds, hug loved ones when we're allowed, talk to other people, read, write and create, think, express myself, and get me through every day. So again, I think if you've got things that are perhaps not going so right with your body, thinking about all of the things that it does enable you to do is a really good way of kind of moving back to feeling grateful for at least huge parts of it. So I really hope that you've enjoyed watching this video and it's given you some ideas for your own journals. If you have enjoyed the video, it'd be great if you'd leave it with a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. I also want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's joined me over on Patreon. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.